box.
Oh, right out of the box. This is like one of the best cars.
You're hitting this big section here 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, yeah, it just handles. Yeah, this is definitely gonna be one of the best cars.
All right, so we caved. We're putting BFG 35's on this thing, method wheels, black. I gotta show you the true potential of how this car can look.
We can't be at the mix, so we're gonna act like we're at the mix.
All right, so we're gonna throw some 35's on the Segway, see how she looks. This is OSHA approved.
Smarter, not harder.
You know, normally people would do like a forklift or something, but here at Morgan Motorsports, even the girls are tough. Nice job, Tara.
Always.
Jake, I'm going to ask you to do something for me. Since you're such a tough guy, let's throw this 35 in the trunk and see if it fits back there without having to get a tire rack. That's pretty unreal. And it does have 4 hooks.
Yep.
So you can just get regular straps and strap it down. That's pretty amazing. 35 fits in the trunk in the stock SuperVillain. Jake just tilted the tire up and put the trunk back on, or the tailgate back on. It actually does fit. It's tilted up a little bit. Oh, okay. All right, let's pull the trunk off. Now, one thing that we learned is that a BFG is a little taller than any other 35. It's more like a 37. That's why they look so freaking amazing. And I didn't know that until yesterday. Mr. Ed showed me. All right, so we're gonna put it in a BFG 35. And as long as you tilt it, looks like the tailgate can go back on and you can strap her down. So a BFG 35, which is more like a 37, fits in the SuperVillain without having to get a tire rack. That's pretty amazing. So if you had one of those toolkits, one of those round toolkits that goes on top, you could strap her down, you're set. That's pretty cool.
Should we send a picture to Polaris of their car with the Segway wheels on it?
Yeah, I was gonna say this is gonna be the only time you'll probably ever see a Pro R with stock Segway wheels on it. The stock wheels and tires on the Segway, it's a true Beadlock, right?
It's a true Beadlock. It's a true 15-inch Beadlock.
He doesn't have any spares. We don't even have one spare tire, one spare wheel.
I don't have one spare part.
Yeah.
So we can beat on the car, but we gotta remember there's no spare parts.
And one thing that's pretty consistent is you need to remove what?
What?
When you buy these cars. And it's not just with the Segway. It's with all the cars. You got to remove that rear rock scraper.
Oh, yeah.
All right, for everybody's viewing pleasure, we have the Segway SuperVillain on 35s, and this thing looks so freaking legit, man. Holy crap. Let's get the full walk around here. So one thing that I did notice, the actual car has a nice rake to the hood, so I was worried about not being able to see very well out of the cabin. Vision is really good because of the rake in the hood. That rhymes. Oh man. So another thing I learned today is that a BFG 35 is much bigger than the other brands. This thing looks so good. Holy cow. Wow. First shot in the world of the Segway SuperVillain on 35's. She's looking good. High clearance radius rods, all bone stock except for the wheels and tires. Thing is legit. I think that's the way to go, folks. We're gonna do some driving impressions with the 35's on it, see if it changes the characteristics of the transmission, see if we mess up the computers. What do you think, Jake?
I'm ready to take it for a rip, man.
All right,
I'm excited to see how it handles as well.
let's do it. I mean, as far as looks go,
It looks good with those tires. So those are.
It's a 10.
Let's be real. Those are closer to a 36. It makes me feel like you could run a 37 if you wanted.
No rub. Or do that again, turn it all the way back again. Yeah, we'll see when we get it under suspension load. But looks good to me. I think you're gonna travel into the wheel well. This is a good looking car in person. One of the things that I didn't like about it, seeing it on all the videos, is I thought the grill looked way too big. And I think part of that is that this is kind of like a skid plate on the bottom, and it looks like it's part of the grill in photos, but it's not. All right, so this gives you kind of a nice point of view of the radius rods. So radius rods there's a high clearance one on the bottom and pretty stout radius rods. Now on the regular Villain that I own, everything looks pretty, from the outside, pretty chintzy, but I think it's thicker wall steel because I haven't had any issues with bending them or anything like that. This has got a really stout hub on it. Let's look closely at that. And the trailing arm is kind of like in between a Pro R and a CanAm, but it's got a really stout trailing arm with a big truss on top. It's kind of like a tube framing, like a solid tube framing all the way to the front of the trailing arm. Brake line runs right down the side, over the top. So I kind of like that it's running down the side, and it's got a metal guard that the brake line goes through. So those are going to be pretty protected. And the brake line runs over the top, so shouldn't have any issues breaking that brake line with rocks or anything like that, gravel.
And that rear drive is pretty deep. It looks way bigger than the Polaris one, even the front snout.
Yeah, one thing that's noticeable is the rear diff is huge. It's massive. It does come with a mud flap.
Okay, are you there?
That's good.
We were measuring like this and that.
And
7, but I don't know what that means.
these rock rails are pretty stout. I'm feeling the inside of the tubing, and the tubing feels pretty substantial. So these are going to be legit rock rails, which it comes with stock. So while they're changing these tires, we'll get a better look at these A-arms. And one thing I've been impressed by is the lower shock mount is more like a truss. And I like the way that they did it, because in this cavity below, it's totally welded in like a full gusset because of that truss. And it looks like a pretty strong A-arm. Where the ball joint's located, this is probably about 3/4 of an inch thick. Now you're going to get a good look at the the hub and the disc brake, calipers. Everything looks pretty robust, pretty automotive at this point.
But you can mess with your electronic power steering settings. You can adjust all that in the app. It lets you know if there's low power consumption. It'll give you a warning. That way, if your battery voltage is below 12, it'll send a warning to your phone. You can see your map. This is also where you can create a group ride. So it kind of works similar to some of the other group ride apps. You just create a code.
Okay.
And then you can have it, and then you can do your group ride in there. And then you can record.
Jake, dude, I'm so excited that you came out and rocked the SuperVillain. You allowed us to put 35's on it.
Yeah, it did great. The 35's, I was really impressed. That's the first time I've driven it with 35's as well. Didn't notice any problems with the transmission shift points. I mean, it rolled over thing. Didn't notice any lack of power. I mean, there's more than enough power with this thing for 35's, and I was pleasantly surprised at the way it handled. There was
sure.
No problem with the steering. I didn't feel any weakness there either.
Yep. Yeah, the steering, the EPS controls are really great. The riding position's really great. I wanted to talk about the screen.
Yeah. So all of the Segways that have screens do have a map capability for them. You do have to, or sorry, they have a GPS built in. You do have to download the maps off Wi-Fi before you hit the trail though. So we actually have a video on our YouTube that shows people how to download maps and import them into the system, but it's something you got to do on Wi-Fi, so you kind of got to think about it. You can also connect the Segway to the Smart Moving app on your phone, and then you'll have active maps in there. Then also you can create group rides. You can set up your emergency contact for the rollover detection. You can get in and you can mess with your electronic power steering settings. You can fine tune a lot more things, a little bit more than you could just on the screen. You can also turn the car off, stuff like that. There's some pretty cool functionality.
Yeah, you can turn the car off from your phone, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So one of the things I did not know about the SuperVillain was that it came with the stereo, and we tested the stereo out.
Yeah. Get that 14 volts going to it rather than 12 from the battery. Then you clean it up.
Well, it's kind of good because the motor's on, right? Go ahead and turn it all the way up and rev the motor. So you can still hear the stereo. This car is just super quiet.
Yeah.
The shift knob is it's super easy to use.
Yeah, for the people that haven't seen any of the videos online yet, put it in gear, foot on the brake, and you just put it into gear, and it's just like a car. It's got a torque converter. So if you take your foot off the brake, the car will actually start to roll forward, just like a vehicle would. If you push forward again on the shift, it goes into manual, so you can use the paddle shifter. So it is either or. It's not, you can't be in drive mode and then also paddle shift. You've got to choose which mode you want to be in. Put it in neutral, you just pull it back. Reverse, pull it back. Same thing. And then you always want to make sure that you hit the park button before you turn it off. Yeah, we got 12 volt and USB right here. So and when you turn the car on, it's going to turn on to normal. You can see that right here. And then you hit this once, you cycle through, it's going to go to race. You cycle through it again, it's going to go to climb. Now we were doing some testing yesterday. Climb, you cannot use the paddle shifters. It really mellows out the power curve. And then it only goes in first and second gear in climb mode. So it's really going to be great for those rock crawling guys. You got your electronic power steering.
3 modes, right?
3 modes, low, medium, and high. So depending on if you want a little bit more rigidity in the steering wheel, you can fine tune that. And then right here, you're going to have your 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, and then 4-wheel drive with the front locker on.
It's so easy.
Yep. Now you don't have to stop to click the button, but it will not shift from two-wheel to four-wheel or vice versa until the vehicle comes to a stop. So you do have to come to a stop for that shift to take place, which is not the case on the Villain, but for the SuperVillain, it looks like it is on these ones.
And how many rocker knockouts do we have?
There's only 2 available right here. Yeah, there's 2 available under the screen and 1 down here by the shifting.
And there's plenty of room over here.
Yeah.
If you wanted to put more rockers, but 3 knockouts for rockers.
Yep.
It's got a large glove compartment. Comes with a tool bag.
Yeah. So in here, in the little glove box, you're going to find your winch controller. They also come with the wireless winch controller, which is really easy to use for people that don't know. To link it to the Segway, all you do is once the car's on, you just hold both buttons down, and then it'll turn red when it's linked. You can see it's linked there, and then you might be able to. So wireless, which is nice if you're out in the backcountry, something goes wrong, one of these stops working, you got a backup. So backups are always good. And then you're gonna have just a basic Segway toolkit. You know, you're just gonna have a few things in there like your lugs, tire pressure gauge, you know,
couple wrenches,
nothing too crazy. I will say the one thing that you do want to add, not for the SuperVillain, but for those that have a Villain and you have the CVT, you do have to add your clutch tool if you want to change your belt. So unfortunately, it does not come with the clutch screw.
But you don't need that for this car because she's automatic.
Automatic 6-speed with a torque converter, and you know, I just can't wait for people to get in this thing and drive it and really experience it. You know, it just drives so smooth, and you know, you can be cruising at 40, 50, 60 miles an hour and not even realize it, and you're only at going, you know, 4,000 RPMs. I think we tested it yesterday. We were going, what, 85 miles an hour, and we were only at 5,000 RPM, 4,500 RPMs.
4,400 RPMs.
Yeah. So, lots of cool stuff. I think, you know, the one compliment that I think a lot of the guys here at Morgan Powersports, they all notice the suspension is really nice, the handling's really nice. The power is basically just on demand. Takes a little bit of getting used to having the 6-speed versus a CVT, because you got to kind of get used to timing the shift points right if you're going to be trying to ride it hard, but that's just, you know, comes with having a transmission. We're constantly trying to improve. The car is pretty refined. It is 99% ready. I think as far as the physical build of the car goes, I don't think we'll see any changes, but they may or may not make some little changes here and there just to kind of fine-tune the shifting and fine-tune the power delivery, which, you know, I think a lot of you guys would agree is already great, but why not make it better if you can?
All right, so I am freaking jacked to be able to experience this car over the last couple days. I've been driving it for 2 days now. It definitely has a different automatic transmission than the Maverick R, but I'm just gonna say this is the easiest side-by-side to drive. The automatic transmission shifter, you just shift into drive or back to neutral, shift into reverse, and it's a very easy shifter. There's no cables or anything like that. It's electronic. It's got a very nice stereo system. The suspension is incredible. It's really easy to tune. Rebound and compression just on 2 different dials, and the car is definitely improved with a set of BFG 35's on it. That was a big improvement because you get a little bit more suspension, and one good test on 35's is, you know, does it change the shift points? Is it still stable? Do you feel like you're gonna roll over? And it felt like factory with the 35's on it. It really did. When you turn it on, you can barely hear the motor at all. One of the things in the industry is we do not want this industry to go away. We want to be able to go to Moab. We want to be able to go to all these places that we have to intermingle with towns and neighborhoods and stuff like that. Now, if you're out at Glamis, you don't need to worry about that. But when you're in Moab or Lake Havasu City or Williams, Arizona, mountain towns, the quiet cars are really nice to have. I'm going to talk about the 3 different modes. Normal mode is really easy to drive. It's got plenty of power. I think a lot of people will be in normal mode most of the time. Race mode, it gets you into a better power band. However, the RPMs are still really low in this car. At 85 miles an hour, we're at 4,400 RPMs. This car is 235 horsepower turbo, and it's got a lot of weight. The aftermarket can take this thing to 500 no problem. It's an automotive motor and transmission, so you do have a torque converter, and you can feel the shift points, but it's not as hard as the Maverick R. I think it's definitely amongst the super sport class, and I think it's going to be a big seller just because it's so easy to drive. Like, if you're going to get your first side-by-side ever, you know, I think this is going to be a good price point for the super sport class. It's really comfortable. It has a lot of features. You can just throw a spare tire in the back. You don't need to buy a tire carrier. It comes with the roof, the winch, Beefy suspension, Beefy A-arms, trailing arms, Beefy brakes, 5-lug bolt pattern. I mean, this is they really took their time and built a really good quality car. And I'm really excited about this thing hitting the market. I'm hoping sometime September, October, we'll actually start to see those cars. But tell me what you think in the comments, and thank you guys for watching. We appreciate you.